Sometimes, the greatest act of love is not telling the truth. Sometimes, the heart demands what the mind knows is wrong. This is a story about a woman who could never lie, until love taught her how. It is a tale that will make you question what matters more, being honest or being human. In a village where the morning mist kissed the green hills and the river sang to the fish, there lived a young woman named Nyaritoma. Her village was not like others. Here, the compounds were built with red clay and strong wood. The farms stretched far into the distance, and the open sky seemed to touch the earth at the edges of their world. Nyaritoma was born with a gift that felt more like a curse. From the moment she could speak, she could only tell the truth. Not because she chose to, but because lies would not leave her mouth. When other children played pretend games of pretend, Nyaritoma could not join. When adults asked polite questions, she gave honest answers that made them uncomfortable. At first, the villagers feared her. Who wants to live with someone who cannot tell a small lie to save feelings? Who wants a neighbor who will always speak what others prefer to keep hidden? Nyaritoma is cursed, the women would whisper when they gathered by the river to wash clothes. Her tongue is controlled by spirits. The men would shake their heads when she passed. A woman who cannot be silent about the truth is dangerous, they said. She will bring trouble to all of us. Children ran from her, thinking she could see their secrets just by looking at them. But time has a way of changing everything. As years passed, the villagers began to see that Nyaritama's gift was not evil. When disputes arose between neighbors, they brought their problems to her. She could not lie about who was right or wrong. Her words became the final judgment. When traders came from other villages, they learned to fear cheating anyone in Nyaritama's presence. She would speak the truth about their dishonest scales and bad goods. Soon, her village became known for fair trade and honest dealing. Perhaps, the village elder Kalino said one day, "This woman's gift is not a curse. Perhaps it is a blessing sent to keep us honest." The villagers' fear slowly turned into respect. Nyaritoma became the keeper of truth in their community. People came to her before making important decisions. They asked her to witness marriages and business agreements. They trusted her words because they knew she could not lie. But respect and love are different things. Nyaritoma lived alone in her compound, with only her chickens and her garden for company. The truth had given her power, but it had also built walls around her heart. She watched other women laugh with their husbands and play with their children. She saw the joy in their eyes and felt an emptiness in her chest that truth could not fill. One dusty evening, when the sun painted the sky orange and red, a stranger walked into the village. His name was Obayomi, and he carried nothing but a small bag and tired eyes. He moved like a man who had walked very far and seen too much sorrow. Obayomi was tall and had hands that looked strong from work. But it was his eyes that caught Nyaritama's attention. They held sadness so deep that she could feel it across the distance between them. The villagers gathered around the stranger, as they always did when someone new arrived. They asked him questions: "Where do you come from? What brings you here? How long will you stay?" Obayomi answered their questions, but Nyaritoma could hear the pain behind his words. He spoke of looking for work and needing rest. He said he came from the eastern villages, where the rains had failed. But she knew there was more to his story. That night, as the village settled into sleep, Nyaritoma found herself walking to where Obayomi sat by the dying fire. She had never approached a stranger like this before, but something pulled her to him. "You carry great sorrow," she said, because she could only speak the truth. "Your heart is heavy with loss." Obayomi looked up at her with surprise. Most people spoke around pain. They pretended not to see it. "Who are you?" Obayomi asked. "I am Nyaritoma. I can only speak the truth." "Then you are either a blessing or very dangerous," he replied with a small smile. "Perhaps both," she said. From that night, something began to grow between them. Obayomi did not fear her gift. Instead, he seemed to find comfort in it. For the first time in her life, Nyaritoma had found someone who was not afraid of the truth. They would sit together in the evenings, sharing stories. She told him about her lonely life. He spoke carefully about his past, sharing only what he could bear to remember. Days turned into weeks. Obayomi found work helping with the harvest. He was a good worker and a kind man. The villagers began to accept him, though some watched him with careful eyes. Nyaritoma found herself changing. For the first time, she understood why people sometimes wanted to lie. Not to hurt others, but to protect feelings. Not to deceive, but to shelter hearts from pain. She loved the way Obayomi laughed at her honest observations. She loved how he listened when she spoke truth that others found harsh. Most of all, she loved that he saw her gift not as something that separated her from others, but as something that made her special. "You are the most beautiful woman I have ever known," he told her one evening by the river. But not everyone was happy about their growing love. Tavenda, a man who had wanted Nyaritoma's attention for years, watched them with angry eyes. He had always believed that one day, Nyaritoma would notice him. Now, this stranger had taken what he thought should be his. Tavenda began to whisper poison into willing ears. "This Obayomi," he said to anyone who would listen, "he brings bad luck. Since he came, old Mama Kasai's goat died. The rains have been strange. The children get sick more often. But these things happen anyway," some villagers replied. "Do they?" Tavenda asked. "Or do they happen because we welcomed a stranger without knowing his true story?" Tavenda's words found soil in the minds of worried villagers. When small misfortunes occurred, people began to notice them more. When the well water tasted different one morning, they wondered if it was Obayomi's fault. When a child fell and broke his arm, they asked if the stranger had brought bad spirits. Fear and suspicion grew like weeds. Some villagers began to avoid Obayomi. Others watched him with suspicious eyes. The warmth that had welcomed him began to turn cold. Nyaritoma saw what was happening and felt anger rise in her chest. She knew Obayomi was good. She could see the truth of his heart. But her gift could not make others see what she saw. "They will drive him away," she whispered to herself one night. "They will destroy our love with their fear." The tension in the village grew until old Kalino could ignore it no longer. As the eldest and wisest, it was his duty to settle disputes and calm fears. "We must have the truth," Kalino announced to the gathered villagers. "If this stranger brings evil, we must know. If he is innocent, we must stop these accusations." All eyes turned to Nyaritoma. As always, when truth was needed, they looked to the woman who could not lie. "Nyaritoma," Kalino said in his strong, old voice, "you will speak the truth about this man Obayomi. Is he good or evil? Does he bring misfortune to our village? Should we welcome him or send him away?" The villagers waited in silence. Even the wind seemed to stop blowing. Nyaritoma looked at the faces around her. She saw Tavenda's cruel smile. She saw the fear in the eyes of people she had served faithfully for years. She saw Kalino waiting for her words with trust and expectation. Then she looked at Obayomi. In his eyes, she saw something she had never noticed before. A deep shame. A hidden pain. And suddenly, she understood. Her gift of truth revealed what Obayomi had been hiding. He had not come to their village by chance. He was running. Running from something terrible he had done. Something that would make the villagers turn against him if they knew. At that moment, Nyaritoma faced an impossible choice. She could speak the truth about Obayomi's past and lose the only love she had ever known. Or she could do something she had never done before. "Obayomi," Nyaritoma said slowly, her voice carrying across the silent crowd, "is a good man." The words felt strange in her mouth. For the first time in her life, she was not speaking the complete truth. "He brings no evil to our village," she continued, each word harder than the last. The misfortunes we have suffered are natural. They would have happened whether he was here or not. She looked directly at Kalino as she spoke the words that would change everything. He should stay. He belongs here with us. The crowd began to murmur. Some seemed satisfied. Others still looked doubtful. But Kalino nodded slowly. The truth speaker has spoken, he said. Let there be no more accusations against this man. That night, Obayomi came to Nyaritoma with tears in his eyes. You lied, he whispered. For the first time in your life, you chose love over truth. Nyaritoma felt something breaking inside her chest. Her gift was gone. She had traded her power for love, and she did not know if it was worth it. Tell me, she said to Obayomi, what did you run from? He looked at the ground for a long time before speaking. In my village, there was a fire. I was supposed to watch the grain stores, but I fell asleep. The fire took everything. Families went hungry because of my failure. Some died. I could not face them, so I ran. Why did you not tell me? Because I was afraid you would stop loving me if you knew the truth. Nyaritoma sat in silence, understanding now why love and truth sometimes war against each other. Obayomi was not evil, but he was not innocent either. He was simply human, carrying the weight of his mistakes like all people do. I lost my gift today, she said quietly. I can no longer speak only the truth. I am sorry, Obayomi replied. I never wanted you to lose yourself for me. Perhaps, Nyaritoma said, looking up at the stars, I did not lose myself. Perhaps I found myself. Perhaps being human is more important than being perfect. They held each other as the night deepened around them. In the morning, they would face whatever came next. Nyaritoma would learn to live in a world where she could choose her words. Obayomi would learn to carry his guilt without running. And the village would continue, as villages do, with all the truth and lies, love and loss, joy and sorrow that make up human life. The greatest truth, Nyaritoma realized, was this: sometimes we must choose between being right and being loving. And sometimes, love is the higher truth. This is the story of Nyaritoma, who learned that the heart's truth can be deeper than the mind's truth. It reminds us that being human means making difficult choices between competing goods. If this story touched your heart, remember to subscribe to our channel for more African folktales that speak to the soul. Until next time, may your choices be guided by both wisdom and love.